The other thing I wanted to view with you guys briefly, over at the Trinity Conference of the Global Methodist Church, it was revealed that it looks like there's going to be a GMC presence in Mexico. I wanted to share with you that address, say a couple encouraging things about that, and then encourage you to be in prayer with them. So let's check that out.
Well, we have an honored guest with us that wasn't on the agenda, but we feel it would be a gift to the body for you to get to bear witness to the fact that the Global Methodist Church is in the process of expansion all across the world. We have with us David and Diana Almanza from Mexico. David and Diana are Methodist pastors that are leading the effort to plant the Global Methodist Church in Mexico.
So it was a really nice gathering. I didn't watch hardly any of it, but I zoomed through this gathering, and they seem, all these GMC gatherings, just a lot of them are packed. Everybody's really happy to be together. Hopefully this maintains for years, and it's easy to start well. But all the good feelings around this is just really quite something to watch.
Welcome to them, and I'm so glad to have the opportunity to hear a word about what's happening in Mexico.
God bless you, sisters and brothers of the Trinity Conference of the Global Methodist Church. We are David and Diana Almanza, pastor of the soon-to-be the First Methodist Church, the GMC in Mexico. His name is El Reino. We bring you greetings, our church members, and the 7 churches that are waiting to join the GMC in Mexico when our registration process is completed. Our church is located in a very poor area of the city of Monterrey, where we, an average 65 people, gather to worship on Sunday and distribute basic needs supplies to needy families and to public hospitals every week. In September 2022, we disaffiliated from the Methodist Church of Mexico to start praying and searching for a movement when we could enter into covenant and become better aligned in theological and doctrinal principles. Then, in February 2023, we start having conversation with Keith Boyette and R.T. Kadar to start the process of the registering the Global Methodist Church in Mexico. Today, we have completed all the necessary paperwork with the Mexican government and shall receive official recognition of the Global Methodist Church in Mexico very soon.
So remember, the United Methodist Church doesn't have a presence anywhere south of the
leading
American
our
border.
church and pursuing my Master of Divinity degree in Asbury Theological Seminary, my wife and I lead 2 other Kingdom Maiden missionary efforts. In Mexico, we lead a ministry that we're calling Somos Uno, or We Are One, where we travel 3 times a year to the mountain in the state of Nuevo León to evangelize and provide very poor families with food, clothes, and Bibles. We also engage in ministry with Cuba, make it an annual mission trip to that country to bring missional help to Cuban churches. In these trips, we train pastors and leaders. We preach the gospel in churches, organize Christian concerts, and summer camp for children, and remodel churches and pastoral homes.
Very active.
As we look forward to our future relationship with the Global Methodist Church and the Trinity Conference, we desire to establish ministry partnership with local churches that will come along with us to support the kingdom, vision, and mission that God has given to us. Above all, we covet your prayers for the expansion of the kingdom in Mexico, in Cuba, and anywhere else where the Lord might want us to serve Him. Thank you, Trinity Conference, for welcoming us today. Keep up in your prayers. God is with you and with us. The best is yet to come. Thank you.
You can tell how meek his wife is. She barely smiles. But yeah, there's a lot of excitement there, obviously. You get a standing ovation from everybody. Because, this has been one of the things that's really bothered me over time is when I was a United Methodist is, there are neighbors to the south. Why do we not have any presence there? And there's a long, complicated history of there had been a United Methodist presence down there, and they saw kind of that they did not want to align with us theologically, and then there was independence. There hasn't been a flourishing Methodist movement in Mexico, I don't think. In Cuba there has been, but once again, they have not wanted, they haven't had much in common theologically with the UMC in America. I learned some about that in People Throw Rocks at Things That Shine. That was the biography of that lady I interviewed. Under Bishop John Scholl, they went over there on a mission trip and had a great experience, but it was just very clear that they do not agree with the American theology, liberal theology. So now that there's an evangelical expression of Methodism that's larger and globally oriented, there are already evangelical Wesleyan traditions in America, and some of them are even globally oriented. I've done interviews with the Evangelical Methodist Church and the Congregational Methodist Church. If I recall, Congregational Methodist actually does have a presence in Mexico. But even so, they're just much smaller and more limited. Now you have this larger movement, and the model right now seems to be establishing missional outposts in areas that the United Methodist Church hasn't really been. So I did an interview with the primary leader in Spain, Guillem Correa was his name. Now we've got a conference started in Panama with one church. There, I want to say 2 or 3 other areas where the starting presence is just very small, but they've done the paperwork to make the GMC an official entity in those areas, and they seem to have a real commitment to growing the church in those areas. So at least in my annual conference, we've started partnering with a missionary in Ethiopia that's church planting left and right. And so there's a significant push and effort to, even if we're having a problem with the church planting effort in North America, abroad, we're sowing the seeds for an amazing spread of Methodism. So it's a really exciting thing to be a part of. And I've just, personally, it's felt very spiritually compromising to me not to have a presence in our neighboring countries. It's just so weird the ways in which Canada and Mexico, and it makes sense that diplomatically maybe there would be separation, but when we believe in a church that breaks down borders and boundaries, I shouldn't use that word border. That makes it sound like I have a political agenda there. I don't. But it does seem to me that the church should have a porous relationship with believers. It seems so strange and wrong that there isn't more connection between us and believers in Mexico. And in my annual conference, the Heartland Annual Conference, we have one church that's affiliated with us from Canada. So it's just really cool. It's hard not to get hopeful about being a truly global church and doing this thing the way that we should have done it in the UMC, but we couldn't do it for different reasons I don't need to get into right now. But I think it's worth being hopeful and optimistic about these things. So I wanted to urge you to be those things with me.